Welcome back to the show, everybody. David Schwartz says we're reaching an inflection point. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on digperspectives.com, Dig Perspectives on Twitter. And I just totally train wrecked that whole intro. I've only been doing it for 6 years. You can follow us at Dig Perspectives, YouTube, Digital Perspectives, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. It's Friday, thank goodness, but don't worry, I work 7 days a week, so it's not like I got the weekend to look forward to. $2.65 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off by 1.1, 67,000 plus for Bitcoin, 3,700 plus for Ethereum. Tether market cap's 111 billion plus, and I am giddy as hell. 51 cent XRP. The market it is off by 0.9% on the 24-hour and off by 3% on the 7-day. And I am obviously off by about 99% myself. So we are ranging between 52 and 53 cents. We will keep an eye on it. Let's start right here. And boy, these first two pieces of news are going to really show you the contrast of where this space is. But it also, I think, speaks to a larger narrative, which it cannot exist this way much longer. So Coinbase accuses the SEC of trying to destroy the crypto industry in final push to get the agency to write rules. Coinbase is not wrong. Coinbase also, I don't want to get into their position with the way they delisted XRP so quickly and thought they were off the hook, and now they find themselves in the boat that XRP and Ripple were in. But nevertheless, it is a group effort at this point. But then you turn around and you hear in the same breath that you hear about Coinbase and their fight, Ripple and their fight, we know Grayscale and their fight. The SEC was just fined $1.8 million for lying in court in the debt box case. Oh my God. Now let's look at this right here. This is Lynn Martin, president of the New York Stock Exchange Group.
We've been having conversations with the SEC for more than 6 years about Bitcoin ETFs. I think you can't argue with the success of Bitcoin ETFs and the liquidity it has brought to the underlying markets.
Yeah, no, you can't, can you? But you can have regulatory capture of an agency like the SEC squashing the existing firms that are building out this new space while the New York Stock Exchange brags about it and positions herself to be able to win off of the ETF market. You can't make it up. All of this is happening because the legacy players are coming in to own this space. Hello, Lynn Martin. Any questions? And how about the about face of the recent administration here, not to mention the antics that were just pulled in the federal court system yesterday to demonize a president so they can't run. We officially are in a lot of trouble in this country. We're under duress. And you don't have to support one person or the other to believe it and understand that fully as an American patriot, which I hope that everybody subscribes to before becoming some political party person.
You're anti-crypto. You're not voting that way. You're probably voting for Biden. It's probably, or Trump, but it's not shaping your vote. But if you're pro-crypto, that may actually change your vote. Like there's enough single issue pro-crypto people to move the needle a little because there's millions of people who own it. So even if 10%, that's 100,000 people, that could be a state, you know. I think they just got lucky that they were filed in an election year, I think.
There is something to be said about that, but nevertheless, look, there is a change in the winds coming from the current administration because they can feel that the other side has gained ground by supporting cryptocurrency, which is a new narrative, not an old one for that. For President Trump. So we'll see how this goes as we move forward here. I want to remind everybody just how massive the DTCC news is. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, well, why didn't the price go up because the DTC started going to T+1? I never really understood it to happen that way. Again, everything I've been watching over the 6-7 years I've been in this space has really been a phase-in operation. So I guess it's going on 7 years now. So, but it's really a phase-in operation. So, you know, to me, you're going to see these things implemented one chunk, one piece at a time, and percentages of flows will start to move in. So I want you to hear this clip, the DTC head of digital assets, and understand that this person, Nadine, also came from Securrency, which was acquired by DTCC, and Securrency obviously also has technology that has the ability to use Ripple, Stellar, EOS, Ethereum, and other protocols, as well as legacy systems as well.
DTCC entered the digital assets. They've been actually working with digital assets for over 10 years. Oh, wow. Back in December, they acquired Securrency, which was the firm I was leading. And Securrency is a blockchain infrastructure company. So the objective here is I'm sure you know what DTCC does, but we actually safeguard the safety and soundness of the market. And our aspiration here is to do what we do for traditional assets for digital assets. Right. So provide infrastructure, provide scalability, resiliency, so we can get the whole industry working off a common platform versus the mushroom of infrastructure that we have all over the place. So
working off a common platform, which is obviously Securrency, because that's where Nadine was the head of before going to the head of digital assets. Now listen to this comment.
To partner with fintech companies.
Partner with fintech companies. Check it out.
The place. So that's the objective. We're also reaching to partner with fintech companies that will have very specialized skills to help complement a very deep knowledge of the markets. When I was at Securrency, I very much realized that despite the fact that I thought we had amazing products, it was very hard to make a massive ripple in capital markets without really having that partnership between fintech and the capital, where
in the capital markets in general, right? So that's what we're talking about here, and it's coming in a big way. We just have to let it happen. Again, a reminder, Securrency's protocol can be utilized on Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, EOS, other distributed ledgers, as well as legacy systems, and allowing seamless on-chain and off-chain movement of tokens. There you have it. They're coming. And here is Solana, which was recently announced, is where PayPal is going to launch their stablecoin. Take a quick listen to this clip. I mean, can you not see what's happening? It's a multi-world after all. It's a multi-world after all. But hold on. But the XRP Ledger is also a decentralized exchange for the world. So why don't we just plug in the it's a multi-world after all into the world decentralized exchange? Why don't we just do that, shall we?
Stuff that the team and the community have built on the Solana side is just a fantastic fit for payments. We need, for retail payments, transactions, throughputs that are north of 1,000 transactions per second. We need low cost of transaction, and we need many of the features that are enabled now by Solana token extensions. So we're super excited to be there.
And Jose had mentioned this tooling called token extensions, which is what PYUSD is issued on. And essentially, in a nutshell, what that does is it allows companies that have a lot of regulatory and compliance requirements to imbue a lot of those features at the token level itself. So things like confidential transfers, transfer hooks to provide more fine-grained controls over who can actually transact with the asset.
We can help on the payment side. On-ramps and off-ramps have been a pain point for users of crypto for the longest time. They're expensive and difficult to do. But also we are bringing mainstream payment use cases. You're asking, give me a real one. For instance, we have a remittance business, a company called Zoom, that moves billions of dollars every year for consumers supporting friends and family in 160 markets. A few weeks back, we just enabled PYUSD for senders who want to fund remittances to their friends in stablecoin, and we waive all transaction fees on that.
The low-hanging fruit is where there's a lot of pain and friction today. Cross-border is an obvious one, right? Talk to anyone about sending money to somebody in India or Africa, or even for me, I have friends in Canada, and it can be a pain. But I think that's one of many use cases. So, you know, we've been innovating, we've been throwing out frameworks even for merchant payments. So the ability for a merchant to accept a stable coin from a consumer in a truly peer-to-peer fashion, it's like digital cash, right? There's no intermediary. It settles instantly.
Thank you both for joining.
There you have that right there. That, I'm telling you, look, they're not doing all of this with PayPal and Solana because this isn't going that way. And then he talked at the very end, if you're paying attention, he's talking about merchants being able to take peer-to-peer stable coins. Yeah, you got to have legislation for all of that business to start happening, so they know it's coming. They know it's coming. Don't let them act like they don't. This is Robert F. Kennedy discussed the role of banks in wars, supporting the idea that all wars are bankers' wars. He mentioned that JFK issued silver certificates and shortly after was assassinated. Absolutely. I've covered it multiple times on the channel in the Freedom Zone. You guys know how I feel about it. It's dead on the money. And I do not find it mutually exclusive that RFK Jr. is now in a place where he's a presidential candidate when we find ourselves in a cyclical moment over money and the monetary system, just like his father and uncle. Remember, his father was going to run after his uncle was assassinated to finish what his brother had started, and he was assassinated as well. So this is just horrible. And, you know, I happen to like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a lot. So my dream scenario is that we see a Trump Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ticket. I don't care who sits where, but I'm pretty sure Trump wouldn't take a VP seat. So I'll let you figure it out from there. Nevertheless, I do have a couple moments out of this. The whole thing's great, but I pulled the highlights here, and they're not from the previous video from this morning. So I want to start right in this area right here and bring it in. And I want you to listen about mass adoption. Again, the narrative here, top down, bottom up. We are at that moment. We're rounding the corner where we're getting close because legislation, as I have said over and over and over again, legislation done right is going to allow the institutional money and the financial system to flood into this space and use what they've been waiting to use for a long time. And consequently, what is going to happen because of that is a Cambrian explosion where you will see a bunch of grassroots technicians, technologists, and developers start to rush to the places where that clarity in those institutions are, because that's where you're going to find all the friction and the problems that need to be solved on these new networks and the joining of this incredible amount of adoption that I believe is before us. Take a listen. Of course, I said take a listen, but it wasn't loaded.
I think there's a sense here that we're close to that kind of inflection point where we get both sort of institutional adoption and grassroots adoption to really ignite that sort of mass use that I think we all are hoping to see.
And you just heard him say it. How long we've been saying it and pointing it out. Let's hear this clip.
Very interesting developments in that direction. And I think the institutional adoption of real DeFi use cases, which is something that you wouldn't expect because they're subject to all of the regulatory compliance. And I think people have found ways to mix the need for regulatory compliance without creating an island that's, you know, what nobody wants is an institutional use case that's on a blockchain for no particular reason, you know, where it actually does enable DeFi. Like the case where that's the most obvious is a stablecoin. Stablecoin is the most regulated thing possibly in all of the space. And yet people are using these stablecoins anonymously in completely DeFi decentralized applications. And I think that synergy and ignition is really exciting.
And when I think about the Uphold Ripple partnership and the ability that they are moving beyond just the speculative retail investor side of their business with that relationship with Ripple and Uphold, white labeling for the entire globe and financial system, banks included. This makes a lot of sense to me. Now let's go ahead and let this play.
Now, y'all just yesterday announced your roadmap, and that includes kind of a big institutional DeFi focus. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The idea that institutions can build things that are very strictly, very tightly regulated, things like portfolios of traditional loans that are heavily regulated, but that can interoperate with DeFi systems. So, for example, you might have a regulated lender who issues very traditional real estate or commercial loans, and then you might have tokenization of that debt that then anyone can hold in a purely DeFi system. And I think if you look at like the way systems grow, if you look at the way the internet grew, there was government and military adoption adoption that enabled grassroots adoption, that built the system, that synergy is what really builds something that can, be dominant, that can really grow. And I think we see that corner. We see the XRP Ledger as being a blockchain where those kinds of use cases can really work.
There you have it, said right there. Can't say it any better. And now I want to take you to this right here. Take a listen to this clip.
12.
Okay, so around that time frame, there was some initial hostility that we've talked about before.
Talking about the early days of Ripple, about 2012.
Towards Ripple and its sort of institution-centric approach. And it does feel like things have changed. I mean, we're talking a lot about regulation. We're talking about ETFs from Blackstone, BlackRock, and and all of these different, entities. What does it feel like, from your seat? Do you feel like people have kind of evolved to the Ripple worldview, or, it must feel different for you, given all of that criticism you got initially?
Yeah, I think the undeniable piece of proof is stablecoins like USDC and Tether. They are as institutional a thing as you can possibly get, and yet they are what's fueling these completely decentralized economies. I think you can't deny right now that the institutional adoption is going to enable grassroots adoption and vice versa. I think the thing that we were too early on is when we were trying to bring institutions on for their payments, they weren't going to bring their customers to blockchains, right? Like if your bank is using, let's say they're using Ripple's payment technology and they're using blockchains and they're using XRP in payments. You as a customer, it's invisible to you. They're not going to bring you into the blockchain space. Yeah. What's exciting about this second wave of sort of institutional adoption is that they're either bringing their customers directly onto the blockchain or they're enabling people to do things on the blockchain.
Sure.
I think you have to accept that, like, if there's going to be mass adoption, it's going to be these sort of hand in hand.
Yeah.
The thing that I think people were skeptical about, that I think now the evidence is undeniable, is that wouldn't mean that everything would have to be regulated. I think the thing that people didn't realize is that, like, you can have a stable coin or a loan portfolio or a tokenized security that's completely thoroughly regulated. They do KYC, AML on every single customer. And yet on the back end, there's tokens that represent ownership interest or collateralization against that are completely decentralized. So, that's like, we see that now.
And that is amazing. And, look, and this is why we've talked about the fact that stablecoin legislation is so important. Because if you get the tokenization of everything coming into this space correct, then there's the bottleneck where they can watch you coming in and out of this market. Doesn't matter what you do once you're in the back end. That's basically what he's saying. Once you get past and you come through the KYC AML gate, you can go do whatever you need to back then. They can sort you out, because at some point you're going to want to cash out or spend that money. Then they can talk to you about what happened and where it all came from. This is super exciting to me, ladies and gentlemen. At least that's how I interpreted that. Now let's hear this quick clip from Brad Garlinghouse. He's going to catch a lot of stuff over this one, but he's not wrong either.
It's shocking to me that the United States, the largest economy in the world, represents, the bottom decile of regulatory clarity. I think when you get the real unlock of the United States economy and you get the real institutional money flowing in, I think it's just hard to predict some of the upside opportunity. But the biggest thing I'll highlight, and like, where does this go? We have to be about more than speculation. I get a ton of when I say these things, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't think Dogecoin has been a good thing for the industry. And I'm not anti-Dogecoin. But it's like, I don't know what the use case is. I don't know, like, are there projects being built to solve real utility? And I see lots of real utility across lots of different, chains. And I think that is what is critical. And what's, for me, the 10-year prediction has to be about, it's not about speculation. It's about solving real problems.
It really is. And I tell you, it sounds to me like they are activated at consensus, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds to me like David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple collectively are pointed towards what they know is coming, is possibly legislation for the United States and digital assets, possibly FIT 21. I would look for the lame duck session towards the end of this year. That's going to be probably the window to look out for. So if we get that, Everybody's poised here for this market to go absolutely gangbusters, and I couldn't be more excited about it. It's not financial advice to me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I will catch all of you on the next one.